Peru is often remembered for a few familiar tourist spots. But behind those images lies a country with more paradoxes than you might imagine, from frigid deserts bordering the ocean to ice formations near the equator. In this video, we'll explore 15 little-known facts about Peru, details rarely found in typical travel guides. Each one shows how people and nature here have adapted to such extreme conditions. Watch until the end, because the final facts will make you see Peru in a very different light. If you enjoy this kind of exploration, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next stories. Now, let's begin. Number 1. Who painted the desert for the people in heaven? Hidden amidst the arid grasslands of southern Peru, these giant ground drawings have become one of South America's most perplexing archaeological phenomena. They were created by the ancient Nazca culture between 500 BC and 500 AD. These lines combine to form animal, plant, and geometric shapes, ranging in length from a few dozen meters to over 300 meters, and can only be fully observed from above. What is remarkable is how the Nazca created these drawings without the use of drones. Site analysis reveals that most of the lines are only about 10 to 15 centimeters deep, created by pushing aside the dark gravel on the surface to expose the lighter soil beneath. With average rainfall of less than 25 millimeters per year and virtually no strong winds, the Nazca Desert acts as a natural reservoir, allowing the lines to survive for over 1,500 years without maintenance. Another major question is how these drawings maintain their precise proportions. Modern measurements show that the error in many of the drawings ranges from only 1 to 3%, suggesting the Nazca may have used a system of wooden stakes, taut wires, and fixed directional points to enlarge the drawings from small blueprints on the ground. Wooden stakes have been found at some intersections of the lines, serving more as technical markers than decorations. In terms of purpose, rather than being purely decorative, many of the drawings are located near underground water sources and ancient wells, in an area where water was crucial to the community's survival. Some of the lines, stretching for kilometers, point directly toward water-related landmarks, suggesting the lines may have served as ritual maps, where people navigated, prayed, and reaffirmed their connection to the harsh environment. When flying over the Nazca Desert today, the drawings appear not as a single work of art, but rather as a deliberately calculated system. They reflect how an ancient civilization organized space, measured territory, and directly imprinted its beliefs on the ground. While their exact purpose remains unclear, the Nazca lines continue to demonstrate how humans could create such durable and complex structures, even without modern technology. Number 2. Coffins hanging suspended between cliffs. Perched on a nearly vertical cliff in northern Peru, the Carajilla sarcophagi create a very unusual impression at first glance, as if someone had placed giant human figures standing guard in mid-air. Looking up from the valley below, these structures stand out against the gray rock, at an estimated height of over 70 meters, a location that makes access by conventional means almost impossible. Each sarcophagus resembles a standing human body, approximately 2 to 2.5 meters tall, constructed from a reed frame, clay, and rubble, then coated with a mineral paint to withstand the high humidity of the Andean cloud forest. These are not isolated burial mounds placed haphazardly, but a deliberate choice by the Chachapoyas, a pre-Inca culture that flourished in this region from approximately the 9th to the 15th centuries. Instead of burying the dead underground like many other societies, the Chachapoyas chose to place their deceased at high elevations where they believed their ancestors could continue to watch over and protect the community. Inside each coffin was a mummified body wrapped in cloth, often accompanied by simple burial goods such as pottery, textiles, or stone tools. Archaeological analyses suggest that individuals buried at Carajilla were likely people of high status, playing important roles in the local social structure. The placement on the cliff face also held clear practical significance. In an area once plagued by grave desecration, placing the coffins at such a high altitude protected the remains from wildlife and thieves while also utilizing the rugged terrain as a natural defense. Today, Carajilla is strictly preserved, with limited access to avoid vibrations and erosion. The coffins still stand there, not merely as a symbol of death, but as a reminder that, for the Chachapoyas, the memory and protection of their ancestors are placed in the highest position, both in space and in meaning. Number 3. The mirage of a lake appears in the desert. Nestled amidst the arid sand dunes of Peru's coastal desert, this tiny village emerges as a verdant oasis in a vast, almost lifeless landscape. Cuactina is often seen as a mirage, a place where water and vegetation thrive in a region with an average rainfall of only a few dozen millimeters per year. Surrounding the village are towering, steep sand dunes, creating a landscape that is both harsh and striking in the desert. This terrain quickly transformed Cuactina into a destination for adventurous activities. Sandboarding and off-road driving take place on dune slopes tens of meters high, where the inclines are steep enough to create a distinct sense of speed. However, right in the heart of the oasis, the lagoon offers a completely different atmosphere. The calm, enclosed waters create a stark contrast to the constant movement of the surrounding sand. This lagoon survives thanks to groundwater deep beneath the sand, with water levels remaining stable year-round, even when daytime temperatures frequently exceed 30 degrees Celsius. Beyond its scenic beauty, Cuactina played a practical role in the region's life. Throughout history, the distance between freshwater sources across the coastal desert could be tens of kilometers, making oases like Cuactina essential stopping points for traveling caravans. The presence of water allowed for the formation of a small community, its rhythm closely tied to the lagoon and the surrounding palm groves. The village itself feels like a space where time has slowed down. Colonial-style houses, palm-lined pathways, and a small population create an atmosphere isolated from modern urban life. The permanent population is only a few hundred, but during peak season, the number of daily visitors can far exceed that, forcing the village to share water resources and living space between residents and tourists. Cuactina is also steeped in oral tradition. One popular legend tells of a mermaid living in the lagoon, appearing at calm times to lure people closer to the surface. In reality, the lagoon's bottom has rapidly changing depths due to shifting sand, making swimming too far out dangerous, especially at night. Over time, these stories have become part of local life, blending into the landscape and contributing to how people perceive this oasis in the desert. Number 4. Civilizations that appeared before the pyramids. Nestled quietly in the arid Supi Valley of central Peru, the ancient city of Caral often surprises not with its imposing size at first glance, but with its unique place in the course of human history. Radiocarbon dating reveals that Caral was built nearly 5,000 years ago, contemporaneous with the first pyramids in Egypt and earlier than most other well-known civilizations in the Americas. In an arid coastal region with little rainfall and limited resources, the emergence of a large-scale, organized city like Caral raises many questions about how humans adapted and developed. Spanning over 60 hectares, Caral comprises large stepped pyramids, circular plazas, and deliberately arranged living areas. This planning suggests the city was not formed randomly, but was built with a long-term vision. Remarkably, excavations have not uncovered traces of city walls, weapons, or war damage. Instead, much of the space was devoted to rituals, community gatherings, and symbolic activities, suggesting that social order in Caral was maintained by organization and shared beliefs rather than military power. Caral's economy also reflected this unusual approach. While the Supa region was unfavorable for large-scale farming, Caral's inhabitants built a network of trade with coastal communities. Archaeological evidence shows they imported dried fish, seafood, and seashells from the Pacific in exchange for cotton and handicrafts. This pattern suggests that Caral was not an isolated city, but a connecting center for many different communities. Another important element was spiritual life. Musical instruments made from bird bones, flutes, and ritual remains were found in high density, indicating that music and ritual played a central role in social cohesion. In Caral, power may not have come from force, but from the ability to organize rituals and maintain community order. Today, Caral is considered one of the clearest pieces of evidence showing that complex civilizations emerged independently in the Americas very early on. Caral is not only an ancient site, but also an open question for history. Can a society achieve a high level of organization, stability, and longevity without relying on war as its primary driving force? Number 5. Where humans live on decaying matter. Located in the heart of Lake Titicaca, these islands are a clear example of how humans can adapt to their environment. Contrary to initial assumptions, these islands did not form naturally or drift randomly on the water's surface. Instead, they were entirely handcrafted from totora reeds, a naturally buoyant plant that grows densely along the lake's edge. The Uros people have harvested these reeds for generations and bundled them into thick layers, forming a foundation that floats on the water's surface. Each island is typically 1 to 2 meters thick, enough to support the weight of houses, people, and daily activities. The unique aspect lies in how these islands are maintained. The reeds below the water's surface are constantly decomposing. To prevent the structure from sinking, the Uros people must continuously replenish the surface with new layers of reeds. On average, the top layer of reeds needs to be replaced or replenished every few weeks, depending on the rainy season and the lake's water level. This maintenance is not a rare, routine task, but a familiar part of daily life. This repetitive work reflects how the community organizes its life around the single material it can rely on. Totora reeds not only create land for habitation. The same material is used to build houses, construct boats several meters long for navigating the lake, and even as a supplemental food source during times of scarcity. Every aspect of life is closely tied to this plant. The floating islands on Lake Titicaca are therefore not just temporary dwellings. They are the result of a continuously operating system where humans must understand the materials, the water environment, and the decomposition cycle to sustain their existence. This is a prime example of how human ingenuity doesn't come from advanced technology, but from the ability to persistently adapt to the surrounding natural conditions. Number 6. A bright white valley in the middle of the Andes. Nestled deep within the Andes Mountains, Salinas Dieras is a system of hundreds of white salt terraces cascading down the mountainside, forming a shimmering labyrinth under the sun. This area has supplied salt to local communities since Inca times, in a high-altitude region where salt was once an essential resource for food preservation and trade. The salt production process here relies entirely on natural factors. Salt water from mineral springs flows down through stone channels, then is distributed into small pools. Under the strong sunlight and dry mountain air, the water gradually evaporates, leaving a layer of crystallized salt on the surface. At an altitude of over 3,000 meters, the daytime temperature and dry winds ensure a stable evaporation process without the need for any artificial energy. Salt harvesting is still done entirely by hand. Locals scrape the crystallized salt by hand and collect it in separate pools. Each lake is typically managed by a single family, with a yield of only a few dozen to a few hundred kilograms per season, enough to sustain livelihoods but not for large-scale exploitation. This requires precise knowledge of water flow and harvesting timing, as even a small deviation can affect salt quality. Salt from Salinas Dieras is easily recognizable by its natural pale pink color and intact mineral content. This characteristic makes it highly sought after by high-end restaurants and international markets, despite its limited annual production. For the local community, salt is not just a commodity, but also a symbol of ownership and tradition preserved through generations. Beyond its economic value, the salt lakes create a unique landscape. The salt terraces reflect light, making the entire valley seem to glow amidst the mountains. Salinas Dieras, therefore, is not only a salt production site, but also a testament to how humans organize their labor persistently, adapting to the harsh conditions of the Andes Mountains for hundreds of years. Number 7. Ice appears in the hottest place on Earth. When thinking of glaciers, most people imagine the Arctic, Antarctic, or other remote, snow-covered lands. But right near the equator, in Peru, ice exists in a way that's completely contrary to this familiar image. This country is recognized as holding the majority of the Earth's tropical glaciers, an extremely rare phenomenon in the global climate system. These ice masses don't exist at high latitudes, but rather at high altitudes. In the Andes, many glaciers form at altitudes above 5,000 meters, where the average temperature is low enough for snow to accumulate year-round. Among them, the Cuilcaya ice cap is the world's largest tropical ice mass, spanning tens of square kilometers and acting as a natural climate reservoir for thousands of years. The tropical glaciers in Peru are more than just a landscape. They function as hanging reservoirs, providing a stable water supply for millions of people living downstream during the dry season. As snow melts slowly, water is released steadily into rivers and streams, sustaining agriculture, hydroelectric power, and daily life. In many Andean communities, the existence of glaciers is directly linked to water security and the stability of daily life. However, observational data shows that tropical glaciers are disappearing rapidly. In recent decades, Peru has lost more than half of its glacier area compared to the middle of the last century. Quelcaya, once considered stable, is also shrinking noticeably, revealing ancient ice sheets containing information about climate from thousands of years ago. These ice cores allow scientists to reread the history of temperature, rainfall, and even volcanic ash on Earth. The existence of ice so close to the equator is a geographical paradox, but also a clear warning. When tropical glaciers disappear, the impact is not limited to the high mountains, but spreads to cities and plains below. Peru, in this case, becomes a living example of how climate change is affecting even the most seemingly resilient systems. In your opinion, when these near-equatorial ice sheets disappear completely, what will replace the natural balancing role they have maintained for thousands of years? Number 8. The Queen of the Andes and a life cycle that never comes again. Amidst the harsh highlands of the Peruvian Andes, there exists a tree whose life cycle and size are so impressive that even biologists are hesitant to describe them. Puya Raimondi, often called the Queen of the Andes, is recognized as the world's tallest flowering tree. When in bloom, its central flower cluster can reach a height of 10 to 12 meters, equivalent to the height of a 3 to 4-story building. What makes Puya Raimondi special is not only its size, but also its extremely slow pace of life. For most of its life, which can last 80 to over 100 years, the tree exists as a cluster of stiff, thorny leaves clinging to the rocky slopes at altitudes of 3,000 to 4,800 meters. This environment has large temperature fluctuations, strong winds, and limited rainfall, but Puya Raimondi has evolved to adapt to these very harsh conditions. When conditions are ripe, the tree enters a single moment that determines its entire life cycle. A giant flower stalk begins to develop over several months, bearing tens of thousands of tiny, bluish-white flowers. Studies have shown that each cluster can produce millions of seeds, dispersed by wind and birds across vast mountain slopes. After completing the flowering and seeding process, the tree gradually withers and dies, ending a century-long life cycle in a single bloom. The ecological role of Puya Raimondi extends far beyond its impressive appearance. The giant flower cluster provides a vital source of nectar for hummingbirds, insects, and some Andean birds during food-scarce seasons. In some areas, the tree's flowering is considered an ecological event, temporarily altering the activity of the surrounding ecosystem. However, this species is facing the risk of decline. Climate change, wildfires, and livestock grazing reduce Puya Raimondi's natural regenerative capacity. The fact that a tree spends its entire life preparing for a single moment makes it particularly vulnerable to rapid environmental changes. Which do you think is more remarkable, the tree's size or its nearly lifetime of patience to bloom just once? Number 9. A bridge connecting the past with the present. Nestled amidst the rugged terrain of the Peruvian Andes, Cueshuachaca is one of the few remaining living relics from the Inca era. Spanning the Apurimac River, this bridge connects two sheer cliffs in an area that was once part of an extensive Inca transportation network. What makes Cueshuachaca special is its materials and construction. Instead of stone or metal, the bridge is woven entirely from a native grass called ichu, which grows abundantly in the high Andes. The Incas developed a technique of twisting the grass into large ropes, then combining hundreds of smaller strands to create the main load-bearing cables. The entire bridge is approximately 28 meters long, suspended more than 30 meters above the water below. Despite its seemingly fragile appearance, the structure is designed to withstand significant loads. The main cables are tightly stretched between the two rock abutments, while the bridge deck and railings are woven directly onto the cable framework. This force-distributing design allows the bridge to withstand strong winds, heavy rains, and extreme temperature changes in the high mountains throughout the year. The most unique aspect of Cueshuachaca is that it is not preserved by simply keeping it as is. Instead, the bridge is dismantled and completely rebuilt each year. Within days, local communities come together to harvest grass, twist ropes, pull cables, and complete the new bridge using techniques passed down through generations. This process is not just a technical task, but a structured community ritual where each family takes on a part of the responsibility. This annual reconstruction ritual keeps the bridge safe while maintaining ancient engineering knowledge in modern life. Cueshuachaca is therefore not just a means of crossing a river, but a testament to how a community can preserve technology, identity, and social cohesion through repeated action. Nestled amidst the rugged Andes Mountains, this bridge continues to exist as a part of life, not just a relic of the past. Number 10. Pink dolphins and stories they dare not tell at night. The pink dolphin is one of the most intriguing animals of the Amazon River system. It's not a mythical creature, but a real freshwater dolphin, known scientifically as Inia geoffrensis. Unlike most ocean-dwelling dolphins, this species has fully adapted to the vast river environment, where the water is murky, the currents are complex, and visibility is limited. The most recognizable characteristic of the pink dolphin is its body color. Its skin can range from light pink to dark pink, and the intensity of this coloration is not fixed. This coloration is directly influenced by age, water temperature, and activity level due to the vascular system located near the skin surface. Therefore, older individuals or those who have recently engaged in strenuous activity tend to have a more pronounced pink color than younger ones. The pink dolphin's adaptability isn't limited to its color. Unlike marine dolphins, whose cervical vertebrae are almost fixed, the pink dolphin has a more flexible neck, allowing it to rotate its head nearly 180 degrees. This is a crucial advantage when navigating through submerged tree roots, trunks, and the intricate network of river branches during the Amazon flood season. Instead of living in large pods, they typically move alone or in small groups, using their echolocation system to hunt fish in the murky water. Beyond their biological significance, pink dolphins hold a special place in Amazonian folklore. Many riverside communities believe they can transform into humans, often appearing as well-dressed men at festivals. These stories were once used to explain unexplained relationships and served as warnings about approaching the waterways at night. Today, pink dolphins are also considered important ecological markers. Their existence reflects the abundance of fish stocks and the water quality in the Amazon River system. Therefore, pink dolphins are not only unique animals, but also demonstrate the close connection between nature, culture, and the fragile balance of the world's largest freshwater environment. Number 11. Where the climate works against all logic. Looking at a map, the Peruvian coast lies very close to the equator, only a few hundred kilometers from latitude 0. According to conventional climatic logic, this area should be hot, humid, and rainy, but the reality is quite the opposite. Along more than 2,400 kilometers of Peru's coastline lies a cold desert where many major cities exist in conditions with virtually no rain throughout the year. In Lima, a city with over 10 million inhabitants, the average annual rainfall is only about 5 to 10 millimeters, lower than even many famous desert regions in the world. Instead of rain, the city is covered by a thick layer of fog called garua, which lasts continuously from around May to October. This fog is enough to humidify the air and obscure the sky, but not enough to produce actual rain. The primary cause stems from the Humboldt Current, a cold ocean current flowing along the Peruvian coast with temperatures 5 to 8 degrees Celsius lower than the surrounding seawater. This cold water mass stabilizes the upper atmosphere, preventing strong convection and causing water vapor to condense only in the lower atmosphere. As a result, fog is frequent, while rain is almost non-existent. This climatic paradox has a remarkable consequence. On land, much of the coastline is unsuitable for natural farming, forcing cities to rely on water from Andean glaciers and artificial aqueducts. Meanwhile, offshore, the Humboldt Current carries large amounts of nutrients from the deep, creating one of the most biodiverse seas on the planet. Peruvian fisheries, particularly anchoveta, once accounted for more than 10% of the total global marine catch in peak years. The coastal deserts of Peru demonstrate that climate is determined not only by latitude, but also by invisible systems operating offshore. Here, cold seas create dry land, fog replaces rain, and an entire economy is built on this paradox. If the Humboldt Current weakens, do you think the Peruvian coast will face more severe droughts or an entirely new climate pattern? Number 12. A giant cemetery buried beneath East Street. Hidden beneath the bustling streets of Lima lies the San Francisco Catacombs, a space almost completely detached from the modern life above. Few would suspect that beneath a colonial-era religious complex lies a vast underground cemetery, in continuous use for over 2 centuries. Construction of the catacombs began in the late 16th century, at the same time as the San Francisco Monastery and Church, when Lima was a vital center of power for the Spanish Empire in South America. Before the advent of public cemeteries, large churches often served as primary burial sites. San Francisco thus became the final resting place for thousands of city residents, from clergy and merchants to ordinary people. Surveys reveal that the catacomb system comprises numerous interconnected corridors, burial chambers, and ossuaries, spanning thousands of square meters. An estimated 25,000 to 70,000 skeletons were once laid here, a number reflecting the population size and high mortality rate during the colonial period, when disease and medical conditions were very limited. Instead of individual burials, the human bones were often arranged in an orderly fashion, with skulls, long bones, and ribs clearly classified, creating circular structures and symmetrical patterns. Remarkably, the catacombs served more than just burial purposes. Their architecture was also designed to withstand earthquakes, a constant threat in Lima. The low domes and thick walls helped to disperse the force of the vibrations, making the San Francisco catacombs one of the few ancient structures to have survived numerous major earthquakes in the city's history. Today, the San Francisco catacombs are open to the public, transforming what was once synonymous with death into a historical discovery site. These corridors of bones are not meant to inspire fear, but rather to tell the story of how a colonial city faced death, disease, and natural disasters. Number 13. Where Earth returns to its primitive state. Rainbow Mountain, also known as Vinicunca, is one of Peru's most recognizable geological phenomena. Instead of being covered in snow like many other peaks in the Andes, Vinicunca's surface is divided into distinct bands of color, creating a rare landscape. This unique feature has quickly made it one of the country's most photographed and filmed locations. The colors on the mountain's slopes are not the result of human activity, but rather the product of geological processes spanning millions of years. Vinicunca was formed from ancient sedimentary layers, deposited in different environments before being pushed upwards by the collision of tectonic plates. Each band of color reflects a specific mineral composition. Red appears due to iron oxides. Yellow to brown is associated with sulfur compounds, while the blue and turquoise streaks are formed from copper-containing minerals. It's worth noting that these colors aren't always easy to observe. Only in recent decades, as the snow and ice receded due to temperature changes, have the underlying mineral layers become clearly visible. Before that, Vinicunca was almost completely covered, making the phenomenon largely unknown for a long time. Geographically, Rainbow Mountain sits at an altitude of over 5,000 meters above sea level, where the air is thin and weather conditions change rapidly. The steep terrain, strong winds, and low temperatures meant the area was primarily used by local livestock farmers, rather than becoming a prominent tourist destination. Only after the distinct color bands were clearly documented did Vinicunca begin to attract widespread attention. Despite its impressive appearance, Vinicunca is more than just a landscape to observe. It is an open geological record, showing how the Earth preserves its history through its layers of rock and minerals. The Rainbow Mountains are therefore notable not only for their colors, but also for the information they provide about the geological formation of the Andes Mountains over millions of years. Number 14. The ancient city that remains hidden. The Inca city of Choqquequirao is often referred to as a silent counterweight to Machu Picchu. Both are located in the rugged mountains of the Andes, and both utilize the stepped architecture and distinctive stone building techniques of the Incas. However, Choqquequirao existed in a completely different context in terms of accessibility and exploitation. This site sits atop Mount Salcante, at an altitude of approximately 3,000 meters above sea level, overlooking the deep and steep Apurimac River Valley. This location was not only strategically important for defense, but also reflected the Incas' choice of site to control traffic and water resources in the region. Choqquequirao is estimated to be nearly twice the size of Machu Picchu, yet only a small portion has been excavated and reconstructed to date. Technically, Choqquequirao demonstrates a level of organization comparable to other famous Inca centers. The terraced farming system was designed to prevent erosion on the steep mountain slopes, while stone aqueducts brought water from upstream springs to the residential areas. Many structures here still retain precise, mortar-free stone joints, demonstrating a highly standardized construction technique. The biggest difference of Choqquequirao lies in its accessibility. There are no direct roads or train lines to the site. The journey typically requires a 2 to 4 day trek across steep terrain and significant elevation differences, resulting in significantly lower annual visitor numbers compared to Machu Picchu. This inaccessibility has inadvertently protected Choqquequirao from the pressures of mass tourism. Today, Choqquequirao retains a rare tranquility for a large-scale Inca site. The vast space, mountainous landscape, and limited modern intervention make it seem like an unfinished Inca center in the process of being discovered. Choqquequirao is therefore not just an archaeological site, but also a clear example of how much of the Inca civilization remains not fully understood, even after centuries of research. Number 15. The world's culinary capital. Lima has long served as Peru's most important culinary center. This isn't due to any single dish, but rather because it's a melting pot of diverse cultures that have coexisted and influenced each other for centuries. The result is a rich culinary landscape that directly reflects the country's history of migration and social structure. Lima cuisine is shaped by the intermingling of indigenous Andean traditions and international influences. The Spanish brought European cooking techniques. Africans contributed their expertise in handling ingredients and spices, while immigrant communities from China and Japan left a distinct mark on seafood preparation and sauce usage. This combination has created distinctive culinary styles such as chifa, influenced by Chinese cuisine, and niki, which combines Japanese techniques with Peruvian ingredients. Lima's culinary scene spans from street stalls to upscale restaurants. The same ingredient, like freshly caught seafood, can appear as a simple dish at a local market or be elaborately prepared in internationally standard kitchens. This shows that Lima's cuisine is not limited by class, but exists simultaneously at various levels of urban life. Lima's role in Peru's culinary ecosystem also stems from its geographical location. The city is situated near the Pacific Ocean, close to major fishing grounds, and has direct connections to the Andes and the Amazon basin. This allows ingredients from the sea, mountains, and forests to converge in one city in a short time, creating a rare diversity in daily meals. Today, Lima is not just a place for consuming food, but also a trendsetter. Chefs here constantly experiment with new combinations, while still relying on traditional ingredients. Lima's cuisine, therefore, not only reflects tastes, but also shows how a city uses food to tell the story of its history, migration, and identity. Looking at Peru only through a map or a few familiar tourist spots, it's easy to think it's a simple country. But the 15 facts you just saw reveal a completely different picture. A place where cold deserts lie right next to the ocean. Ice exists near the equator. Ancient civilizations flourished without war, and people learned to adapt to seemingly paradoxical circumstances. If you found this journey of discovery in Peru worthwhile, please like to support the channel, share the video with others who are also curious about the world, and leave a comment letting us know which fact struck you the most. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next countries with even lesser known stories.